Hi friends, welcome back to Astrology with Ninad. In this video, I am going to discuss the monthly horoscope prediction for one of the most important months in 2023. It is November, mainly because of the very recent major transits of the two demon planets, the North Node Rahu and the South Node Ketu, to the signs of Pisces and Virgo respectively. This will set a major trend and influence on the world for the next 18 months because Rahu and Ketu, especially Rahu, is a game changer. It is one of the most important planets in Kali Yuga. So, this video will discuss the monthly horoscope prediction for all the 12 signs of the zodiac. My predictions are mainly based on your moon or ascendant sign per Vedic astrology. Moon sign or Chandra Rashi predictions have an impact on the mind or emotions of a human being, while ascendant or Lagna Rashi predictions have an impact on actual physical events in life. Traditionally, Gochar transit predictions are primarily seen from the moon sign, but for some people, the ascendant predictions might be more relevant. So, in this case, it might be best to look at predictions from both your moon and rising sign, and over a period of few months or even 6 months, you will be able to exactly tell which sign you most resonate with. So, without any delay, let's look at the impact on all the 12 signs for the month of November by the Navagraha. So I have posted the timestamps in the description box below for your convenience, so you can click on the time that corresponds to your moon or rising sign and watch accordingly. For my Aries Mesh Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the transits in the month of November, and then we will focus on the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, Shani Dev will be strongly placed in its Mool Trikona Aquarius in your 11th house. Rahu, the north node of the moon, will be placed in your 12th house in the sign of Pisces. Then Ketu, the south node of the moon, will be placed in your 6th house in the sign of Virgo. Along with Ketu, Venus will also be placed in your 6th house in conjunction in the sign of Virgo. Then we have Jupiter, Devguru Brihaspati, in your first house itself in the sign of Aries. Then we see that Sun and Mars, these two planets, for the first 2 weeks of November, will be placed in your 7th house in the sign of Libra, and then in the last 2 weeks, they will be placed in your 8th house in the sign of Scorpio. Finally, Mercury will also be mostly placed in the sign of Scorpio for the most part of the month, and it will be in conjunction with Sun and Mars in the last 2 weeks. So these are the important placement and positions of planets in the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with the career. In terms of job and profession, the time is looking excellent because your career lord Saturn is placed in the Labhastan, in the house of Ichchapurti. So it is very auspicious because it is in its Mool Trikon. So any planet placed in its Mool Trikon usually gives exceptional results. And now the Guru Chandal Dosh is also over because Rahu has moved out of your ascendant, which is a huge relief. So Jupiter is strongly placed and Digbali in your first house and aspecting your Bhagyastan. So the ruler of your Bhagya is very strong, your career lord is very strong. So that naturally means with your hard work and effort, now sky is the limit as to what you can achieve at the work front. Just give it your all. Keep Stay focused on your projects, on your duties. Avoid office politics at all cost, and you will be extremely successful in your job and profession. If you don't have a job, I highly recommend keep applying and give lots of interviews, because there is a very good chance, especially in the first 2 weeks, that you might be able to land a new job with a decent salary and benefits package. So, a very good month in terms of career. If we talk about business, so in terms of business activities, whether you are running your own business, whether you're thinking of starting a new business like a startup, this month you have to maintain caution. It is not looking a good month for business activities, because although Ketu has now moved out of your seventh house, the ruler of your business house, Venus, is placed in the sixth house, and it is in debilitation in the sign of Virgo and in conjunction with the malefic planet Ketu. So, this is not ideal or not that supportive for business activities. So, do not engage in any risky business activities this month. Avoid getting into new business partnerships and try to just remain with the status quo and play it as safe as possible. If we talk about health, then some caution needs to be maintained in the terms of health area, because the ruler of your sixth house, Mercury, in the last 2 weeks, or for the most part of the month actually, will be placed in the eighth house. I believe it will transit to your eighth house on the 6th of November and will be there till around 24 or 25 November. So for the most part of November, it will be in your eighth house. So not the best of a position, because it is the Ashtam Stan. It is a malefic house, and then Saturn from the 11th house is aspecting your 8th house, which falls on Mercury, and there is no protection of Jupiter on your 8th house. Even your ascendant lord Mars will be transiting to the 8th house in the last 2 weeks. So especially after November 15, you have to be very cautious when it comes to your health and not neglect any health issues at all cost. If we talk about finance, then the time is looking good for the most part, especially for those people employed in a good company. There is a chance for a bonus, promotion, or a salary increment now, because your 11th house is very strong. Your second house lord is in the 6th house, which indicate good progress or good inflow of money through your job, through your daily routine work. And if you are now residing in a foreign land, and if Rahu is very well placed in your natal chart, if you are running its Mahadasha or Antardasha, then it can be even better for you, and you could make it quite big if you are in a foreign land in terms of the compensation. You might get promoted to higher levels of management type position, which can enable you to get quite an increment in your salary, and the finances are looking strong throughout the month. If we talk about education, so both primary and secondary education, primary education for those students pursuing high school or bachelor's, or secondary students for those people pursuing PhD or master's program, the time is looking excellent for you to make strong academic progress and achieve good grades. If we talk about love life, then the first 2 weeks are looking fairly good for the love and romance area. If you are single, you might even be able to find a comparable partner and get into a relationship. But the last 2 weeks are not looking that great. If you are in a relationship, try not to get into arguments, disputes with your partner, or that could lead to a break in the relationship, because your fifth lord will transit to the eighth house and will be aspected by Saturn. which will be a strong enemy aspect. So, some caution needs to be maintained. If we talk about marriage, then this month is not looking ideal to getting married. If you're single, try to be more patient because your marriage lord Venus is in debilitation all month long. So, any marriage related activities should be delayed for a bit because in December, I believe it will become quite auspicious. So, this month, try not to get married and try to delay it a bit. If you're already married, avoid getting into unnecessary quarrels with your wife or with your husband because again, seventh lord in the sixth house in conjunction with Ketu is not that favorable for the peace and harmony in the married life. So try to be faithful, loyal, caring, loving, attentive towards your spouse, and that should maintain the relationship in a peaceful and harmonious way because you do have the blessings of Jupiter on your seventh house. So just take one day at a time and try not to get into unnecessary arguments. If we talk about travel, then short distance travel for the first 2 weeks is looking quite good, but not as good in the last 2 weeks. If we talk about long distance travel, journey, and vacation, the time is looking excellent throughout the month, and you can certainly embark on the same. Just make sure that you do not drive your vehicle on any long distance journeys. You do not drive your vehicle too fast, and you do your proper planning, research, and analysis before you go on any long distance travel. If you can take someone with you, it will be even better. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for the month of November. For my Aries Mesh Rasi friends, I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Taurus Vrushabha Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will focus on the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, Shani Dev will be strongly placed in its Mool Trikona Aquarius in your 10th house in its own sign. Then we see that Rahu has now moved to your 11th house, the Labastan, in the sign of Pisces, and Rahu is known as the North Node. Respectively, Ketu, the South Node of the Moon, has now moved to your 5th house in the sign of Virgo. Along with Ketu will be placed your ascendant lord, your Lagna lord, Venus, in the sign of Virgo, but it will be in debilitation. Then we see that Devguru Brihaspati, Jupiter, will be placed in your 12th house in the sign of Aries all month long. Then we see that Mars and Sun for the first 2 weeks of the month will be placed in your 6th house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks, both will transit to your 7th house in the sign of Scorpio, and they will be in conjunction with the planet of communication, Mercury, because Mercury will be placed for the most part of the month in your 7th house in the sign of Scorpio. So these are the key placement and positioning of the planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with career. In terms of job and profession, it is going to be an excellent month because Rahu moving to your 11th house is a big game changer and for the positive because Rahu co-rules your 10th house with Shani Dev and Saturn is placed in its Mool Trikona. Any planet placed in its Mool Trikona usually gives good results. And that too, Saturn is the ruler of your career house and it is placed in the career house itself. That too in a Upchaya Sthan, in a Kendra house. And both Rahu and Shani, they are known to act, similarly, and they are both controlling your career house and are placed in the Upchaya Sthan. Those are growth houses, which means that you can achieve tremendous success in this coming time. Your career area is looking very strong and powerful. So keep working hard, stay focused on your projects, on your duties, on your task. Avoid office politics, and you are going to reach the top in your organization. Just in the last 2 weeks of November, be slightly cautious as some workload can increase, some work related stress can happen, but it can be for the better because Mars will be aspecting your career house and Saturn in the last 2 weeks. And Saturn, vice versa, will also be aspecting Mars and the seventh house. So that is why some level of caution does need to be maintained in the last 2 weeks. But overall, the auspiciousness graph of the career house is now looking very strong. And especially if you're in a foreign land and you are running the Mahadasha or Antardasha of Jupiter and it is very well placed in your natal chart, let's say in the 12th house itself, then you can make excellent career growth and progress in a foreign country. If we talk about business, then for the first 2 weeks, the business area is not looking good. Try not to take any risky business decisions or indulge in any business activities that could have a risk factor. Try not to get into new business partnerships in the first 2 weeks because your seventh lord will be in the sixth house, which is 12 places away and indicates loss and expenses and tension and fears. But in the last 2 weeks, it will be quite a positive transit because Mars will be placed in its own sign, in its own house of Scorpio. And the Budh Aditya Yoga between Sun and Mercury will be created in your seventh house. Not saying that you should throw caution to the wind though, because Saturn will still be aspecting your seventh house. So, what I'm trying to say is the time will get better in your business area as the month progresses, and especially in the last 2 weeks. So, if you use good, careful business decision making, then you will do largely well in your business area. But avoid getting into unnecessary arguments or disputes with your business partner if you are in a business relationship. Otherwise, the relationship could get damaged due to the Mars Sun influence in your seventh as well as Saturn's aspect. If we talk about health, then overall, no major health issues are seen this month as long as you do good exercise, yoga, meditation, eat good, healthy, home cooked food. Your health should be maintained for the most part because your sixth lord is in the fifth house, which is quite a positive placement and indication. If we talk about finance, then overall the financial area is also looking quite good. You will still keep getting the inflow of money, and since your Lagnesh is placed in the fifth house, chance of gains from past investments, speculative type investments, is also likely. But you should not engage in additional speculative risky investments this month because your Lagnesh is in debilitation, although in a friendly sign. So some caution needs to be maintained there. But overall, the financial flow is looking good. And if you can invest in safe, long term, stable investments, then that will be good for you because your 11th Lord is in the 12th house, which shows profit over a long period of time, gains or returns over a long period of time. So try not to get entangled into any get rich quick scheme, otherwise that could cause you financial losses. So try to play it a bit safe and you will do very well in terms of your finances. If we talk about education, then for primary education, for those students pursuing high school or bachelor's, you will need to put in a lot of effort and then only you will get good grades. But for those students pursuing higher education, such as master's or PhD program, the time is looking much better. It's looking more supportive for you to make good academic progress. But in the last 2 weeks, if you are planning on giving any examination, you will need to study a bit harder because Mars will be aspecting your ninth lord. If we talk about love life, then the time is looking quite good for those single people hoping to find someone. If you use good decision making and not rush into a new relationship, take your time, try to get to know that person well, then it can be quite good for you because Venus, the natural planet of love, romance, passion, is in your fifth house and it is your Lagnesh. And Mars, also, the main planet of kind of aggression, passion, is in your seventh house along with Mercury, Sun. So it kind of even indicates that love romance type relationship could even convert to marriage in the coming time. Although you must make sure that you are running a good Mahadasha, Antardasha, your natal birth chart supports the same because Saturn's aspect on the seventh house cannot be ignored. So if you are running the Mahadasha or Antardasha of Saturn, then you have to think twice. But if you are running a very good Mahadasha, Antardasha, the placement of Venus is very well in your natal chart, your seventh lord is very strongly placed, then the time is quite supportive for the marriage area. If you're already married, then in the last 2 weeks, there will be an increase in your passion, love, romance, in your married life. But there will be a lot of intensity as well because of Mars, Sun, Mercury, Saturn all influencing your seventh house. So try not to get into unnecessary quarrels, disputes, arguments with your spouse, or that could cause some marital disharmony. If we talk about travel, short distance travel will be quite good throughout the month, while long distance travel will also be good, especially in the first 2 weeks of November. So you can certainly embark on any long distance travel, journey, and vacations in the first 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, if you can take someone with you, a trusted friend, family member, a colleague, then it will be good for long distance travel. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Taurus Vrishab Rashi friends for the month of November. I wish you good luck. For my Gemini Mithun Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November and then we will talk about the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be strongly placed in your ninth house in its own Mool Trikona sign Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu, the north node of the moon, has now moved to your 10th house in the sign of Pisces. Respectively, Ketu, the south node of the moon, will be placed in your 4th house in the sign of Virgo along with Venus all month long. Jupiter, Devguru Brihaspati, will be strongly placed in the sign of Aries in your 11th house, and the Guru Chandal Dosh for the last many months is now completely over. Then we see that Mars and Sun, both the fire planets, will be for the first 2 weeks of November placed in your 5th house in the sign of Libra. But then in the last 2 weeks, they will both transit to your 6th house and will be placed in the sign of Scorpio and in conjunction with Mercury. Because Mercury, for the most part of the month, will be placed in your 6th house in the sign of Scorpio. And there will be the Budh Aditya Yoga created between the conjunction of Sun and Mercury. So these are the key position and placement of planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with your career. In terms of job and profession, it is one of the best periods in your life that you are now starting because your Bhagyasthan is very powerful. Your destiny lord is in the destiny house itself. So you have the complete support of your Bhagya. then now you have the support in your karmastan, because Rahu is first of all a very good planet for your lagna. It is good friends with the ruler of your sign Mercury, and now it is placed in your 10th house itself, and that too in a upchaya stan. It's one of its most favorite houses. It is a growth house. And then you have Jupiter, which is placed in your labhastan, the 11th house of gains, desires, and wish fulfillment. So these three houses, the highest of the Dharma Trikona, the highest of the Artha Trikona, and the highest of the Kama Trikona, the 9th, 10th, and 11th, are the highest of the human pillar achievement in life. So naturally, you are going to be extremely successful in your career moving forward. All you need to do is put in your hard work, effort, and do your parakram, and you will see the good results, because Saturn controls your bhagya, and Saturn is a planet of discipline, hard work. It teaches you patience. So if you inherit these qualities, then naturally you are going to be a force to be reckoned with at your workplace. There is a strong chance you might get the promotion that you always desired. You might get a job transfer to the desired location. You might start something completely new. You might switch to a different career field. If you don't have a job, I highly recommend keep applying and give lots of interviews, because there is a strong chance you might land a new job with a very good salary and benefits package. All your dreams, goals, ambitions, desires, wishes in your career area are now slowly going to be fulfilled, because your career lord is in the Labhastan without the affliction of being in conjunction with Rahu, which was the Guru Chandal Dosh, is now completely over. So, and very good time for you, my friends, in the career area. So, make the best use of it. If we talk about the business area, once again, excellent time. If you're thinking of starting a new business like a startup, then you can certainly embark on that, because your seventh lord is again in the 11th house and aspecting the 7th house again, which completely supports business type activities. But although you must maintain caution and make sure your natal chart supports business activities, your birth chart is running, a good Mahadasha, Antardasha, so that even if you start a new business, you will have good outcomes. It might be a good time to think of business expansion if you're already running a business, of getting into a new business partnership. If your business partner is, you think will be a good value added to your team, to your organization, and if your natal chart supports the same. But overall, the business area is looking quite dominant and strong throughout the month. So just do your careful due diligence, planning, analysis, and research, and then sky's the limit as to how much you can achieve in your business activities. Your revenues will start to go up, your expenses will start to go down, and you will start to make a lot of good profits in the coming time. If we talk about health, then it's going to be a good month for you, because the ruler of your 6th house is going to be fairly well placed throughout the month. Just in the last 2 weeks, try not to neglect any acute health issues if something was to bother you. But overall, if you are fit and healthy, you take good care of yourself, then you have no reason to worry. If we talk about finance, then the financial area is looking strong throughout the month. Now, the blockage which could have been created by Rahu's presence in the 11th house will be released. So, the money inflow will increase. Your labh, your gains will rapidly increase. You will start to get gains from multiple sources of income. Maybe you had made several investments which were not yielding good returns, but finally it will change for the better. It will have a more positive outcome in the coming time. You will start to build out your wealth. Your savings will grow, and you will Now really focus your concentration on wealth accumulation, which is looking quite strong in the coming time. If we talk about education such as primary, for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, the time is not looking that great because Venus placement is in your fourth house and in debilitation, which can cause some distractions. So, students really need to avoid distractions so that they can perform well in their academics. If we talk about higher education, for those students pursuing master's or PhD program, they will make excellent academic progress, especially in the first 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, there will be some added work or study pressure. So make sure that you study really hard so that you get good grades in the last 2 weeks, because it will be slightly tougher than the first 2 weeks. If we talk about love life, then the entire month of November is not looking that great for your love and romantic life, because your fifth lord will be in the fourth house in debilitation along with Ketu, which is a planet of detachment. So, not the best month for love and romance area. If we talk about marriage, so for those single people wanting to get married this month, the time is looking very good. You have your seventh lord in the 11th house, the house of gains, desires, wish fulfillment, Ichha Purtistan, and it is aspecting its own Mul Trikona Sagittarius from the 11th house, which provides a lot of support for marriage type activities. If you're already married, then the love, romance, harmony, peace, passion in your married life is going to increase. The respect between the couples is going to increase. You are going to get the full support of your spouse. So, a lot of good and memorable time is seen in your married life in the coming time. If we talk about travel, short distance travel is looking good for the most part, and no afflictions are seen, as well as long distance traveling, especially in the first 2 weeks. You can definitely embark on long distance travel, vacation, and journeys, and it is looking quite auspicious. In the last 2 weeks, maintain slight caution, and if you can take someone with you, like a family member, it will be even better. So, I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Gemini Mithun Rashi friends. It is going to be a beautiful month for you, so make the best use of it, and I thank you for watching. Good luck. For my Cancer Karka Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will talk about the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed in your 8th house in its own sign Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu, the north node of the moon, will be placed in your 9th house in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite, Ketu, the south node of the moon, will be placed in your 3rd house in the sign of Virgo along with Venus. Jupiter will be placed in your 10th house in the sign of Aries. Then we see that Mars and Sun for the first 2 weeks of November will be placed in your 4th house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks they will both transit to your 5th house in the sign of Scorpio and will be in conjunction with Mercury, which for the most part of the month will be placed in your 5th house in the sign of Scorpio. So these are the key positioning and placement of planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with career. In terms of job and profession, a major relief for my Cancer Karka Rashi friends. Finally, the Guru Chandal Dosh in your career area is completely over, and Rahu has now left the house. Jupiter is now strongly placed alone in your 10th house. Although, yes, Saturn's aspect is there, but it is still a big relief for you, my friends. You are going to start now making good progress. If you had faced a lot of struggles, obstacles, frustrations in these last 18 months or so, now things are going to change for the better. It is going to be way more positive going forward. You will slowly be able to achieve all your career goals, ambitions, and desires. All you need to do is have patience, because Shani Drishti on the 10th house can cause some delays because it is trying to teach you patience. So just take everything one day at a time. Do not take sudden, hasty, risky decisions. Keep working hard on your projects, on your tasks, on your duties. Avoid office politics, gossiping, engaging in unnecessary quarrels or disputes with your colleagues or bosses. And that way, you will ensure to have a successful career path in the coming time, because Guru's blessings in your 10th house is looking quite auspicious. So, for those people looking for a good job change, now the opportunities can open up. If you don't have a job, now the time is looking good for you to finally get a new job. So, overall, the career area is looking quite strong and much more better than in the past. If we talk about business, then the business area is not looking that great, so some caution needs to be maintained, because your seventh lord is in the eighth house. Shani Dev is in the eighth house, although it is in its Mul Trikona. So, if your natal birth chart supports business activities, it is having a very strong business chart. Saturn is very well placed in your birth chart. If you're running a good Mahadasha Antardasha, then maybe the business activities can be quite supported, because Saturn is in its Mul Trikona, but still you must not throw caution to the wind, because 8th house is the house of sudden unexpected losses in life. But it can also be a house of sudden unexpected gains. So again, it can go either way depending upon how strong your natal birth chart is. But again, I will say try to maintain some caution here, because especially in the last 2 weeks, Mars, Mangala will be aspecting your seventh lord, which can create sudden unexpected consequences connected to your business activities. So you need to be prepared for the same. If we talk about health area, then overall the time is looking good throughout the month. You have Jupiter's support on your 6th house. So no major health concerns are foreseen. Just keep doing exercise, yoga, meditation, pranayam, mindfulness, mantra jap. All doing this will maintain your health in a positive direction. It will give you a lot of positive energies. If we talk about finance, the inflow of money is seen throughout the month, but expenses are also seen, but it can be for something that you enjoy, such as going for shopping, vacation, travel, short distance travel, going on a romantic date with your partner, because your 11th lord is in debilitation. But your second lord is strong, which shows that money is going to come your way, but you just need to have good financial management. You need to utilize good money management so that you can save your money. If we talk about primary education, for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, the time is looking a bit tough. So make sure to study hard so that you can achieve good grades in your examinations. If we talk about secondary education, the time is looking excellent for those students pursuing higher education programs such as master's or PhD. As long as you avoid distractions, you are going to perform extremely well. And it is also a great time for those students wanting to pursue higher education in a foreign land, because now you will have Rahu in the 9th house. So if you're running especially the Mahadasha or Antardasha of Rahu, it is placed in your 9th house or your 12th house, then the time is looking strong for abroad relocation. If we talk about love life, then there is going to be a 3-planet conjunction in your 5th house with the aspect of Saturn on it, which means it will be intensely activated. So now it can again go either way. If you're single, you might be able to find a comparable partner. If your natal birth chart is running a very good auspicious Mahadasha, Antardasha, if your fifth house is very strong, then there is a good chance you could get into a new relationship. If not, then there could be some hurdles in your relationship area. You might suddenly get into a new relationship, but it might just fall apart. So just maintain some caution there. If you're already in a relationship, try not to get into unnecessary arguments or disputes or quarrels with your partner, or that could cause a break in the relationship. But overall, if you are loyal, caring, loving, attentive towards your partner, then the passion in your relationship is going to go to the next level because of the fire energy being generated in your fifth house. And the Lord of the fifth in the last 2 weeks being placed in the fifth house itself. If we talk about the marriage area, then not the best time to get married, nor is it the most ideal time for married couples. So some caution needs to be maintained, and as long as you be patient with your spouse, you are caring, you're loving towards your spouse, then the harmony and peace should be maintained for the most part. But getting into unnecessary arguments, disputes, not being faithful, all these could cause some disastrous consequences. So just be a bit careful in this marriage area. If we talk about short distance travel, then the time is looking mediocre. Try to drive your vehicle carefully and then embark on short distance journeys. If we talk about long distance travel, vacation, and journeys, the time is looking very good and you can certainly embark on the same. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Cancer Karka Rashi friends. I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Leo Simha Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will talk about the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed in your 7th house in its own sign Aquarius. Rahu, the North Node, has now moved to your 8th house in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite will be Ketu, placed in the sign of Virgo in your 2nd house and in conjunction with Venus. Jupiter will be in your 9th house in the sign of Aries. Mars and Sun for the first 2 weeks will be in your 3rd house in the sign of Libra. But in the last 2 weeks of November, they will both transit to your 4th house in the sign of Scorpio and will be in conjunction with Mercury, the planet of communication, which for the most part of the month will be placed in your 4th house itself. So these are the key placements of planets throughout the month. Now let's discuss the major areas of life, starting with the career. In terms of job and profession, it is going to be a slightly tough month because the ruler of your career house, Venus, is placed in the 2nd house in debilitation, in Neech Avastha, in conjunction with Ketu, the planet of detachment, and it is a malefic planet. But still, Venus is in a friendly sign of Virgo, although it is in debilitation. So as long as you stay focused on your duties, task, project, you avoid getting into unnecessary quarrels with your colleagues, you avoid office politics, then you will be just fine. Keep working hard and do not lose focus of your career goals, and do not make a hasty career related move this month if possible. If we talk about business, then the business area is looking much better than the career area because Saturn is placed strongly in its Mool Trikona Aquarius in your 7th house. So any planet placed in its Mool Trikona usually gives good results, and Saturn is in its own house. So naturally, Saturn being a planet of discipline will teach you to make careful and calculated business decisions which can enable you to be successful and make profits and reduce your expenses. But in the last 2 weeks, try not to get into a new business partnership. try not to open a new business if possible, because Mars will be aspecting your 7th house and 7th lord. So some caution needs to be maintained in the last 2 weeks of November in terms of the business area. If we talk about health, then overall the health area is looking mediocre, not too great, not too bad either, because your 6th lord Saturn is again aspecting your Lagna, which is a strong enemy aspect. But thankfully, Jupiter's protective aspect from the 9th house is also there, granting you good protection. So, as long as you do exercise, yoga, meditation, pranayam, eat good, healthy, home cooked food, your health should be positive for the most part. If we talk about finance, then overall the financial flow will be there, but you need to make sure that you save your money, because Venus is in debilitation in your 2nd house. So you might indulge into extravagant spending. You might start eating out too much. You might go and start shopping. You might plan vacations. And that all is fine, but make sure that your expenses are accounted for and that you properly budget your money, because the inflow of money is looking decent throughout the month. If we talk about love life, then the time is looking quite good in the terms of love and romance area, because Jupiter ruling your 5th house is in your Bhagyastan and aspecting the 5th house. So an excellent time for single people to connect with potential matches and get into a relationship. For those people already in a romantic relationship, the time is looking quite auspicious, and your love, romance, respect in your relationship is going to increase, and your partner is going to be even more respectful and supportive of you. If we talk about primary education, for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, the time is looking a bit tough throughout the month, so make sure to study really hard so that you can get good grades. In terms of higher education, such as those students pursuing master's or PhD program, the time is looking much better. It is looking quite supportive, especially in the first 2 weeks. It is looking excellent, and even in the last 2 weeks, it is looking good as long as you put in the hard work and effort. If we talk about marriage area, so for single people wanting to get married, the time is looking good, and as long as your natal birth chart supports the same, you're running a good Mahadasha Antardasha, there is a good chance that marriage might be on the cards. If you're already in a marriage, the harmony, peace, and romance in your married life can certainly increase, because Saturn is becoming direct on November 4. Shani Dev is becoming Margi, which is any planet's natural moment except Rahu and Ketu. So it is quite a blessing for you to achieve good marital bliss and harmony in your married life. If we talk about short distance travel, then the time is not looking that great. Make sure to drive very carefully when embarking on any short distance quick journeys. If we talk about long distance travel, vacation, and journeys, the time is looking excellent throughout the month. You can now finally embark on any long distance vacations or journeys that you had desired for a long time, but it did not come to fruition. So you can certainly think of the same. So overall, a good month in certain areas and not so good in other areas. So where you need to be maintain caution, I already explained in the video. So I hope you have a good month of November, and take care and stay safe and healthy. For my Virgo Kanya Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will talk about the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed in your 6th house in its own sign Aquarius. Rahu, the north node of the moon, has now moved to your 7th house in the sign of Pisces, and directly opposite will be Ketu, the south node of the moon, placed in your own sign of Virgo, along in conjunction with Venus. Jupiter will be placed in your 8th house in the sign of Aries. Mars and Sun, for the first 2 weeks, will be placed in your second house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks of November, they will be placed in your third house in the sign of Scorpio along with Mercury, which will be placed there for the most part of the month. So these are the key placements of planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life starting with the career. In terms of job and profession, you will make good progress this month because Mercury, the ruler of your career house, is well placed, and there is going to be a Budh Aditya Yog when in conjunction with Surya Devta. But since Mercury will be placed 6 places forward from the house it rules, it does indicate some friction or some kind of tiff between you and your colleagues. So just try to make sure that you do not engage in unnecessary quarrels, arguments, or office politics so that no unnecessary complications arise. Just stay focused on your work, on your duties, and you will make good progress throughout the month because Mercury will be aspecting your Bhagyastan. So, with hard work, effort, parakram, you will be a force to be reckoned with at your work front. So, keep at it, and if you don't have a job, keep applying and give lots of interviews because Mercury is placed in the third house, and third house is mainly the house of parakram. It is self effort, bravery, courage, going after what you want. It won't be given to you on a platter. You need to go after it, and then it will be yours. So really work hard, which will enable you to achieve success to land a new job if you don't have a job. If we talk about business, then not the most ideal month for starting a new business, getting into a new business partnership, taking any major risky business decision. You need to avoid doing that because your seventh lord is in the eighth house, Gurudev, and then Rahu is now going to be in your seventh house. So Rahu is a bit of an unpredictable planet. It is a planet of Maya, illusion, deception. So you need to first let Rahu settle in your seventh house and you need to see what kind of results it is giving. And it will be largely based on how it is positioned in your natal birth chart. Because it can give very good results as well. Because it is a good planet for your Lagna. It is good friends with the ruler of your sign Mercury. So let just Rahu settle in your seventh house and give it some time to see what kind of results it is showing for your business activities. Then you can think of slowly business expansion or getting into new business deals or partnerships, but you need to be a bit patient for that. If we talk about health, then overall the health area is looking good throughout the month. No issues are seen as long as you take good care of your health. The Saturn's placement in your sixth house is looking excellent for you to maintain good immunity, to feel energetic and be active. So overall a good time is indicated for the health area. If we talk about finance, then the financial flow is also looking quite good throughout the month because second lord is in your first house, which is Venus. It is a good planet for your Lagna. It rules your Dhanastan, but it is in debilitation. So make sure to use good money management skills. Otherwise, wrong type of investments, lending money to people you don't know, you don't trust that well, spending unnecessarily can certainly deplete your bank balance. So make sure to properly save your money so that you can accumulate more wealth and grow your savings. If we talk about primary education, then for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, you're going to make excellent academic progress as long as you study. If we talk about higher education, for those students pursuing master's or PhD program, the time is looking a bit tough. You need to really put in the extra effort to achieve good grades because your ninth lord is in debilitation. And then also, you see that Mars, Sun, Mercury, they're all aspecting your ninth house. So a lot of intense activation of the ninth house, which means you will need to put in the extra effort in terms of higher education. If we talk about love life, the time is looking mediocre because your fifth lord is in the sixth house, and it is a good placement for Saturn. It is in its Mul Trikona, it is a Upchaya Sthan. So use good judgment before getting into a new relationship if you're single, because if you do that, then there is a good chance the relationship can be for the long run. It can even convert to marriage down the road, because Saturn is all about permanence, it is all about stability. If you're already in a romantic relationship, try to avoid quarrels, disputes, because your fifth lord is in the sixth house, which is connected to arguments, disputes, quarrels. It is a trikstan. Although it is a growth house, it is a trikstan. So some caution needs to be maintained. If we talk about marriage, so single people wanting to get married, again, I will say have patience. Let Rahu settle in your seventh house. But now there is a chance you might come across potential matches, and they might be of a different cultural, race, religion than you, because Rahu represents foreigners. It represents difference or different element, not the same as what you are exposed to. So, due to the Rahu influence in your seventh house, you can certainly come across a individual from a very different background than yours. But then you need to make sure you are running a very good Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha. Your seventh lord is well placed in your natal chart. Then you can maybe think of marriage. Because in transit, Jupiter, which rules the seventh house, is in the eighth house. So some level of caution needs to be maintained. Even in your married life, if you are already married, then try not to get into unnecessary arguments. Try to be faithful, loyal, caring, loving towards your spouse, because Rahu in the seventh can cause Brahm. It can cause deception. It can lead you to making the wrong decisions when it comes to your married life. So make sure that you do not stray away from the right path that you are following. If we talk about short distance travel, then the time is looking okay as long as you drive your vehicle with caution. No major issues are foreseen. And the same goes for long distance traveling, journey, and vacation. This area is looking even a bit more weaker than the short distance travel. So if you need to embark on any long distance travel, journey, vacation, try to take someone with you, like a trusted friend, family member, a colleague, which will be helpful. So I believe I covered all the areas of life for my Virgo Kanya Rashi friends. I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Libra Tula Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will discuss the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed in your fifth house in its own Mul Trikona, Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu has now moved to your sixth house in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite will be Ketu, placed in your 12th house in the sign of Virgo and in conjunction with your Lagna Lord Venus. Jupiter is going to be placed in your 7th house in the sign of Aries. Mars and Sun for the first 2 weeks will be placed in your ascendant in the first house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks they will transit to your second house in the sign of Scorpio and will be in conjunction with Mercury, because Mercury for the most part of the month will be placed in your second house itself. So these are the key placement of planets throughout the month of November. Now let's discuss the major areas of life, starting with the career. In terms of job and profession, there are no major afflictions to your career house, which means that good progress is indicated throughout the month. Especially if you are residing in a foreign land, then the time is looking much better, because your Lagnesh, your ascendant lord Venus, is in the 12th house in debilitation. Although it is in debilitation, it is in the good friendly sign of Virgo. which means that with your hard work, effort, 100% focus on your projects, duties, and tasks, you can certainly be successful at the work front. If you are not having a job, you're unemployed and looking for a new job, there is a stronger chance if you give interviews, you might be able to land a new job in a place away from your home, like your native place, possibly in a foreign land, in a foreign country, or maybe within a different state in your own home country, but away from your birthplace. If we talk about business, then the business area is looking much better moving forward because Rahu has now finally left your seventh house and transited to your sixth house, which is an excellent placement. So the Guru Chandal dosh in your seventh house no longer exists, which means that Jupiter is now fully equipped to give you good results concerning the seventh house. So you must still maintain caution because Saturn is aspecting the seventh house still. So with good due diligence, proper planning, research, analysis, you will make decent business related progress. Now finally you might start seeing some profits in your business activities. Revenues might start to decrease. You might get approached by different companies, organizations for any business deals. You might think of getting into business partnerships. You might think of business expansion. If your overall natal birth chart strongly supports the business house, the business areas, then the time is looking much better. But just again, maintain slight caution due to the niche drishti of Shani on your seventh house. If we talk about health, then overall the health area is looking mediocre if you maintain proper diet, exercise, do yoga, meditation, because your Lagnesh is in the 12th house, which does indicate some minor health ailments if you do not take good care of your health. If we talk about finance, then overall the financial area is looking strong throughout the month. Your Labastan ruler is in the Dhanastan in the last 2 weeks of November, which is quite a Raj Yog. So, money will definitely be coming your way. Do your part of properly saving the money and utilizing good financial money management techniques to accumulate more wealth, increase your savings, and grow your bank balance. If we talk about primary education, for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, the time is looking very good. Just put in the hard work and effort, and you will do great. If we talk about secondary education, such as those students pursuing PhD or master's program, the time is looking slightly more tougher, but as long as you are willing to put in the hard work and effort, you are going to still make excellent academic progress. If we talk about marriage area, so if you are single and hoping to get married, now finally the time is looking quite good. Single people might be able to get married in this coming timeline because if your natal birth chart supports the same, you are running a very good Mahadasha, Antardasha, which supports marriage activities, then now it can finally happen because Guru Chandal Dosh is no longer there and Jupiter has strongly activated your marriage house. So your marriage dreams might finally come true. If you are already in a marriage and if things were not going smooth, there was a lot of arguments, disputes, quarrels, misunderstandings in your married life, slowly the smoke will clear off because the smoky planet Rahu has now left your seventh house, and once again the passion, love, romance, understanding, respect, care, attention in your married life will be reignited, and more harmony, bliss, and peaceful married life is indicated moving forward. If we talk about love and romance area, then again the time is looking good, especially in the first 2 weeks. where if you're single, chance of meeting a romantic partner is there, and even that romance can go for the long run because Saturn is in your fifth house in its Mool Trikon. So Saturn indicates long term permanence, stability. So you might find a compatible partner and it could be a long lasting relationship if all other factors are supportive for the same in terms of your natal birth chart. And if you're already in a romantic relationship, things are looking quite good. Just in the last 2 weeks, avoid getting into arguments, unnecessary quarrels, because Mars will be aspecting the fifth house and the aspect will fall on Saturn. And as we all know, Saturn and Mars do not like each other very much. So just maintain slight caution in the last 2 weeks. If we talk about short distance travel, then the time is looking excellent and you can certainly embark on short distance travel because it will be beneficial. In terms of long distance travel, journey, and vacation, as long as you do the proper planning, due diligence, and research, it should be good for the most part as well. So, I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Libra Tula Rashi friends. I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Scorpio Vrishika Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will discuss the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be strongly placed in its Mool Trikona Aquarius in your fourth house. Then we see that Rahu, the north node of the moon, is now placed in your fifth house in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite is Ketu, placed in your 11th house in the sign of Virgo in conjunction with Venus. Jupiter is going to be placed in your 6th house in the sign of Aries. Sun and Mars for the first 2 weeks till the 15th will be placed in your 12th house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks both will transit to your ascendant in the first house itself in the sign of Scorpio and will be conjunct with Mercury, which will be placed there for the most part of the month. So these are the key placements of the planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with your career. In terms of job and profession, the first 2 weeks of November are not looking that strong or supportive. Unless you are living in a foreign land, then the time can be quite progressive. But if you're living in your home country, then the last 2 weeks of November will be excellent because the ruler of your career house, Sun, Surya Devta, will leave your 12th house, the Vyastan, and will transit to your ascendant in the first house itself. And that is an excellent placement for Sun because the first house represents the east direction where the sun rises. So it's naturally an auspicious and beneficial placement for your career growth and progress. If you don't have a job, I highly recommend keep giving lots of interviews, and especially you have a strong chance of getting a new job opportunity in the last 2 weeks because the position of Sun, Mars is your Lagna Lord, and it will also be strongly placed in the ascendant itself after November 15. So the last 2 weeks are crucial for you because you will be able to achieve a lot of your career goals, ambitions, and desires. So definitely put in your 200% effort because the time will be in your favor. And even Jupiter's aspect is on your 10th house. Yes, Saturn's aspect is also there, which is an enemy aspect, but Jupiter is protecting your 10th house to a great extent. So if you are running the Mahadasha or Antardasha of any auspicious planet, then there is no stopping you when it comes to your job and profession. You will rise as a leader at your workplace. Those who had dismissed you earlier, now they will come to you seeking advice. And you will become very powerful and dominant in your job. If we talk about business, then the business area can be quite fruitful for many people because the Lord of your 7th house, Venus, is in the 11th house, which is the house of gains, desires, wish fulfillment. So Venus that way is well placed, but you must remember it is in debilitation in Neech Avastha with Ketu. So business risky decisions must be avoided at all cost. Otherwise, you could suffer losses as well, because in the last 2 weeks, Mars and Mercury and Surya will all aspect your 7th house. So naturally, there will be a lot of confluence in the 7th house. So if you are running a really good Mahadasha, Antardasha, your business house in the natal chart is very strong, then you can see some great time. Like profits will go up, revenues will increase, expenses will go down, losses will go down. But just avoid taking major risky business decisions, getting into new business partnership, especially in the last 2 weeks, starting a new business. But if you maintain the status quo, play it as safe as possible, then you will do very well in your business activities. If we talk about health, then overall the health area is looking quite good. As the month progresses, your health will get better. Your vitality will increase. You will feel more robust. Your energy levels will increase. Because Jupiter will be strongly placed in your 6th house. The Lord of your Lagna, the ruler of your ascendant, Mangal, will also transit to your ascendant itself, which will naturally strengthen the individual's health and support the health related area to a great extent. If we talk about finance, the financial area is looking quite good throughout the month, because in your 11th house, you do have Venus, which is the main planet of luxury, abundance, wealth, prosperity. And then you have Jupiter's aspect on your 2nd house of wealth, Dhanastan, which is its own Mool Trikona Sagittarius. So naturally, a good time indicated for the money area. Just be careful and avoid risky speculative investments, because otherwise you can face losses, as Rahu will be in your 5th house, which is connected to your decision making and to speculative risky investments. So if you are not careful, you don't do your homework, due diligence, you could lose money. So try to save your money in safe, long-term, stable investments. If we talk about primary education, then the time is looking great for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school to make good academic progress. And even for secondary education students, for those pursuing PhD or master's, the time is looking excellent and you will make good academic progress as long as you avoid any distractions, especially related to love area, because Rahu will now be in your 5th house. So it can cause some distractions related to the house that it is placed in. Now coming to the love and romance area, again, as I said, Rahu is now going to be in your 5th house and your 5th lord is in the 6th house, which means that a sudden new relationship might come up in your life. If you're single, you might be able to connect with someone who is living in a foreign country, with a foreigner, with a person who is of a different race, culture, religion, background, because Rahu represents a foreign element. So now it depends on how well Rahu is placed in your birth chart, what Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha you are running. Then we can really deduce what type of effect Rahu can give you in terms of the love and romance area. But overall, you have to maintain caution, because Rahu is a planet of deception, illusion, and Maya. It is a demon planet. So use good judgment before jumping into a new relationship. If you're already in a relationship, remain loyal, honest, caring, faithful to your partner so that the relationship is maintained in a harmonious and peaceful manner. If we talk about marriage area, then for many people, the chance of getting even married is looking strong, because your 7th lord is in the 11th house. Venus in the 11th house does indicate fulfillment of long-term desire. You have been wanting to get married for a long time, and finally it can happen. But again, you need to make sure your Mahadasha, Antardasha, your natal birth chart supports the same. If you're already married, then you will have a fun gala time with your spouse. You will go out for shopping, vacation, movie, fancy restaurant. You will spend a lot of money and you will have a great time with your spouse. So a lot of love, romance, passion is indicated in the relationship. If we talk about short distance travel, then it is looking good for the most part, and you can certainly embark on the same. In case of long distance travel, journey and vacation, that area is also looking good and no major afflictions are seen. Just be cautious when you drive your vehicle and do not speed and drive. So overall, a quite good month for my Scorpio Vrishchik Rashi friends in many aspects as compared to some others where you need to be a little careful. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life. For my Vrishchik Rashi friends, I thank you for watching and all the best. For my Sagittarius Dhanu Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will discuss the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed in your third house in its own Mul Trikon Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu has now moved to your fourth house in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite will be Ketu, placed in the sign of Virgo, along with conjunction with Venus. Jupiter will be placed in your fifth house in the sign of Aries. Sun and Mars for the first 2 weeks will be placed in your 11th house in the sign of Libra, and in the last 2 weeks they will both transit to your 12th house in the sign of Scorpio, where they will be conjunct with Mercury, which will be placed there for the most part of the month. So these are the key placements of planets in the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with the career. In terms of job and profession, if you are employed in an organization in a foreign land, or if you're working in a home country, but you're working for a foreign company from your birth country, then also the time is looking quite good for you to make decent progress. But those who are already working in their homeland for a homeland-based company, then there could be some obstacles, hurdles along the way, because your 10th lord is in the 12th house, in the Vyastan. Also, you have to be careful and avoid getting into any sort of relationship with any colleagues at your workplace, because Venus is debilitation in Neech Avastha in your 10th house. So doing anything like that could possibly have a problematic consequence in the future. So try to stay away from getting into any romantic relationship with your colleague, at least when Venus is in your 10th house, because it is in Neech Avastha. If we talk about business, then again I will say the same thing. If you are running a business in your homeland, then the time is not looking that great. You should not even think of starting a new business this month if possible. Try not to get into a new business partnership because it could go to loss and expenses. But if you're running a business which is connected to foreign lands, whether it is import, export, whether it is any sort of trading or trade, commerce connected to overseas, then the time could be quite profitable because your 7th lord is in the 12th house. And it is quite a powerful conjunction of Budh Aditya Yoga with Surya, and even Mangal will be in the 12th house. And Mangal's Mul Trikona is your 5th house. So naturally, you might be able to make some good business deals connected to foreign lands during this time. If we talk about health area, then it is looking mediocre. As long as you take good care of your health, you do regular exercise, eat good, healthy, home-cooked food, do yoga, pranayam, meditation, your health will remain good for the most part. If we talk about finance, then overall, the financial flow could be there because your 11th lord is in a good friendly sign, but It shows a lot of expenses as well. It can be for something that you enjoy or desire, but the expenses will be there. So try to cut out unnecessary spending and try to save your money so you can grow your bank balance. If we talk about primary education, such as those students pursuing bachelor's or high school, the time is looking excellent and you will make really good progress in your academics during this time. Just avoid any sort of distractions. If we talk about those students pursuing secondary education, such as master's or PhD program, the time is looking good. You will make decent progress in your academics, and especially for those students who are wanting to get admission to a country, to a foreign land or a college in a foreign country, the time is looking quite supportive in the last 2 weeks when your ninth lord transits to the 12th house in the friendly sign of Scorpio. Then we see that the love and romance area. If you are single, hoping to find someone, the time is looking quite good for the same. You might be able to now come across good potential matches and possibly get into a new relationship. If you're already in a relationship and if things were not going well, if there were a lot of hurdles, obstacles, problematic, misunderstandings in your relationship, those will slowly be cleared away. And once again, good, cordial, respectful relationship can be re-established, and the peace, love, romance in your romantic relationship can once again be reignited, because finally the Guru Chandal dosh in your fifth house is now over. If we talk about marriage, if you're single and wanting to get married this month, then it is definitely not advisable for the same. You need to be a bit patient and wait for some more time, because your seventh lord will be in the 12th house. And the same goes for married couples. Try not to get into unnecessary arguments, disputes, quarrels with your spouse, or it could even cause a break in the relationship and head to divorce, because your seventh lord is in the Vyastan, the house of loss and expenses. It is the mirror reflection of the sixth house. So be very cautious. Finally, if we talk about short distance travel, looking very good throughout the month. Just in the last 2 weeks, do not speed and drive your vehicle. In terms of long distance travel, journey and vacation, the time is looking quite fruitful for the same. You can certainly embark on any long distance traveling you wanted to for a long time, but it did not happen. Now is a good time to do that. Maybe you can take someone along with you, a friend, family member, or even a colleague. So overall, the time is looking good in many areas and might have to maintain some caution in some other areas, as I mentioned before. So I wish you all the best, my Sagittarius Dhanu Rashi friends, and take care. For my Capricorn Makar Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will focus on the major areas of life. Starting with Shani Dev, Saturn, the lord of your Lagna, the ruler of your ascendant, is going to be strongly placed in your second house in the Dhanastan in its own Mool Trikon Aquarius, which is Kumbha Rashi. Then we see that Rahu, the north node of the moon, has moved to your third house in the Parakram Stan in the sign of Pisces, which is Meen Rashi. Directly opposite will be Ketu, the south node of the moon, placed in the sign of Virgo, which is Kanya Rashi, and it will be in conjunction with Venus. Jupiter will be placed in the sign of Aries, which is Mesh Rashi, in your fourth house. Mars and Sun, for the first 2 weeks, will be placed in your 10th house in the sign of Libra, which is Tula Rashi, and then both will transit to the 11th house in the last 2 weeks in the sign of Scorpio, which is Vrischika Rashi. And they will both be in conjunction with Mercury, who will be placed in the sign of Scorpio for the most part of the month. So these are the key placement of the planets throughout the month of November. Now let's talk about the major areas of life, starting with career. In terms of job and profession, the time is looking good for the most part. The main reason is Rahu will now not be influencing your career house because it created the Guru Chandal dosh with Jupiter, and it influenced the career house from the fourth, which could have caused dilemma, obstructions, hurdles, obstacles in your career area. But now it has transited to the best, one of the best placements for it, which is the third house. It is a Upchaya Sthan. It is a house of growth. So now Rahu will help you and boost you to actually perform extremely well at your workplace. Jupiter's aspect will also be there on your 10th house. Only thing is, the Lord of your career house, Venus, is in the ninth house, which is 12 places away from the 10th house it rules. And it is also in debilitation. But it is still in friendly sign of Virgo. So all you need to do is maintain caution, stay focused on your duties, tasks at work, not get pulled into office politics, gossiping. Avoid doing that, and just be consistent with your work, your projects, and you will perform extremely well because you will have good support of your Bhagya, as your Bhagyesh Mercury will first be in your house of career itself and then in the Labhasthan. And because for the first 5-6 days it will be in your 10th house in the friendly sign of Libra, then it will be mainly in the 11th house. So basically you have the support of your destiny lord, and even Mars and Sun, which get Digbali, get directional strength in the 10th house, will be transiting there for the first 2 weeks. Though the time is looking excellent for you to make good career related growth and progress, to achieve higher rank in your organization, to possibly get a promotion, bonus, or salary increment. So definitely strive for the same, because Rahu's position, especially for those people employed in field of sales, advertising, marketing, real estate, politics, media, technology, is looking largely supportive for you to excel in those careers. If you don't have a job, I highly recommend keep applying and give lots of interviews, because the time is looking quite strong for you to land a new job with a decent salary and benefits package. And some people might even be able to relocate to a foreign country for a new job opportunity or a job transfer, because Jupiter is aspecting the 12th house, which is the house of permanent foreign relocation. So especially if you are running Jupiter Mahadasha or Antardasha and it is very strongly placed in your chart and is supporting foreign relocation, then it can certainly happen. If we then talk about business, the business area is also looking quite auspicious. There are no major afflictions to the 7th house, which largely means that your profits and revenues will start to go up now. Your expenses will decrease. You will now think of how you can expand your business, how you can grow your business. If you can do some new business deals, get into some business partnerships. So the time is looking quite supportive for the same, as long as your natal birth chart also supports that. If we talk about health, then overall the time is looking quite strong. You're going to feel energetic. Your vitality will increase. You will feel more robust. You will become very active. And as long as you take good care of your health, it is going to be solid throughout the month. Your 6th lord is going to be very well placed. Your Lagnesh is very well placed. So no issues are seen. If we talk about finance, then the time is looking extremely strong. Money will definitely be coming your way. Just do your part of properly saving the money, because you're still under the influence of Sadhisati for the moon sign Makar Rashi people, because Shani is in your 2nd house from the moon transit. So make sure you avoid unnecessary risky speculative investments. Instead, just act like your ascendant lord. Saturn is a very slow moving, disciplined planet. So invest your money in a very disciplined manner. Be careful with your money management and you will accumulate a lot of wealth. You will grow your bank balance and savings in this coming time. If we talk about primary education, then the time is looking excellent for those students pursuing bachelor's or high school to make very good academic progress. There will no longer be any distractions, and you will make really decent progress in your examinations and schoolwork. If we talk about higher education, such as master's or PhD program, the time is looking again very good as long as you avoid distractions, especially romantic distractions, as Venus will be in your ninth house in its debilitation sign. So you need to avoid love and romance type distractions if you want to do well in your higher studies. If we talk about love and romance life in general, then the time is looking quite good for those single people hoping to find a romantic partner. You can certainly find someone, but make sure you properly know that person before jumping into a new relationship, because your fifth lord Venus is going to be in Neech Avastha. So maintain some caution there. If you're already in a relationship, the time is looking very harmonious, peaceful, and you're going to do a lot of traveling with your partner and just have a good, fun gala time. If we talk about marriage, the time is looking quite good for those single people hoping to get married, or those already married. Married couples will also have a blissful time. Any misunderstandings can definitely be resolved in the coming period. So you can definitely work towards that. So there are no afflictions as such to the seventh house, which means that a good time is indicated in the marriage related area. If we talk about short distance travel, then again, a fairly decent time for you to embark on any short distance traveling. It can be beneficial, as well as long distance traveling journey and vacations are looking quite good and supportive for the most part. So you can certainly embark on that if you had long desired to do so. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Capricorn Makar Rashi friends. You're going to have a wonderful month of November. I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Aquarius Kumbha Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will discuss the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, your Lagnesh, the ruler of your ascendant, will be strongly placed in the first house itself in its Mool Trikona Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu has now moved to your second house in the sign of Pisces, and directly opposite will be Ketu in the 8th house in the sign of Virgo along with Venus. Jupiter will be placed in your third house in the sign of Aries. Sun and Mars for the first 2 weeks will be placed in your ninth house in the sign of Libra, and then they will eventually transit to the 10th house in the sign of Scorpio and will be in conjunction with Mercury, which will be placed there for the most part of the month. So these are the key placement and positions of planets throughout the month of November. Now let's discuss the major areas of life, starting with career. In terms of job and profession, the first 2 weeks are looking quite weak, but the last 2 weeks are looking quite strong. Because in the first 2 weeks, your career lord will be 12 places away from the house it rules. But in the last 2 weeks, it will be strongly placed in its own house and sign. So Mars and Sun will become Digbali in the 10th house, along with Mercury, which will not be Digbali, but it will create a Budh Aditya Yoga with Surya, and they are natural significators of the 10th house because they signify authority, they signify intellectual prowess. But in the first 2 weeks, Saturn's strong enemy aspect is there on the 10th house without the protection of Jupiter, and the career lord is in a weak position. So really avoid taking any hasty career related decisions, whether it is applying for a promotion, whether it is giving interviews, whether it is trying to change your job. Try to delay that a bit. In the last 2 weeks, the time will be much more supportive for the same. If we talk about business, then the business area can be good for you, especially if you're running a very good Mahadasha, such as Jupiter, such as Moon, such as Mars. Because if you're running the Mahadasha of Shani, for example, it is aspecting your seventh house in Gochar. So that is a strong enemy aspect. In that case, the business activities might not be as fruitful. But if you're running Jupiter, if you're running Mars, then with your hard work, effort, parakram, you can achieve quite a lot in your business activities in the coming time. Your profits can start to go up, your revenues can decrease, but you need to do everything with patience, proper planning, research, due diligence, and analysis. Because if you throw caution to the wind, Saturn will not forgive you. Saturn will punish you because Saturn's aspect is very powerful and it is not a friendly aspect. So avoid taking hasty, important, major business related decisions. Only take calculated business decisions which will enable you to safeguard yourself and be successful at the same time. If we talk about health, then overall the health area is looking quite good throughout the month. Your Lagnesh is in a strong position. Your sixth house is not afflicted. Your eighth house is looking good. So overall, as long as you do proper exercise, eat good food, then your health is going to be remain stable for the most part. If we talk about finance, then the time is looking quite good because for Kumbha Lagna, for Aquarius ascendant, Rahu will now be in the second house. And Rahu really likes your ascendant. It is friendly to the ruler of your sign Saturn as it acts like Saturn. So if Rahu is very well placed in your chart, it can really give you that sudden cash inflow in your life. Jupiter is aspecting the Labhastan, which falls on its own sign of Sagittarius, which means the wealth inflow can definitely be there, but you're still undergoing the phase of Sadesati, the second phase, which means that you have to be very careful with your investments. Try to avoid risky speculative investments like cryptocurrency, stock market, penny stocks, or you could suffer losses. So use good money management skills and you will be just fine. If we talk about education, for primary education such as bachelor's or high school, the time is not looking that good and you will need to really put in the effort to get any good grades. For higher education as well, such as PhD or master's program, the time is looking tough because your ninth lord is in the eighth house, which means there will be a lot of ups and downs, struggle, obstacles. So if you can somehow delay your presentation, any kind of thesis, defense to December, it will be much better for you. If we talk about love life, then the time is looking good for those single people hoping to find someone. You might be able to even connect well with a coworker, a colleague, someone at your workplace who you might, get along well with, and you might even think of starting a relationship with them. So overall, the time is looking good because your fifth lord is in the 10th house for the most part of the month. So it is looking quite auspicious as there will be a Buddha Aditya Yoga created in the 10th house. And then if you're already in a relationship, the time is also looking quite positive, quite harmonious, and quite peaceful. If you are thinking of marriage, so if we talk about married life and single people wanting to get married, it again largely depends upon what Mahadasha Antardasha you're running. If you're running a very good Mahadasha Antardasha, the placement of the seventh lord is very well in your natal chart, then the time might be good for single people to get married. But if not, then you have to be more cautious due to the Saturn's aspect on your seventh house. For already people who are married couples can experience some ups and downs in their married life, some disturbance to their peace and harmony due to the influence of Shani on the seventh house. But if you're really running a good Mahadasha like Guru, then of course the disturbance will be quite less and more harmony and enjoyment in married life will be experienced. If we finally talk about short distance travel, then it is looking extremely good throughout the month. And in case of long distance travel, journey, vacation, the time is not looking that great. You have to be very cautious this month. Avoid embarking on long distance journeys if possible. If you absolutely must, then make sure you drive your vehicle with caution. If you're flying, then make sure to take someone along with you, such as a friend, family member, a colleague, and that will be much beneficial. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Aquarius Kumbha Rashi friends. I thank you for watching and good luck. For my Pisces Meen Rashi friends, let us first take a look at the position of planets in the month of November, and then we will talk about the major areas of life. Starting with Saturn, it will be placed strongly in its Mool Trikona in your 12th house in the sign of Aquarius. Then we see that Rahu, the north node of the moon, has finally entered your ascendant, your first house itself, in the sign of Pisces. Directly opposite will be Ketu, placed in the sign of Virgo in conjunction with Venus. Jupiter, the lord of your ascendant, the ruler of your sign, will be placed in your second house in the sign of Aries. Sun and Mars, for the first 2 weeks, will be placed in your 8th house in the sign of Libra, but in the last 2 weeks, both will transit to your 9th house in the sign of Scorpio, and they will be conjunct with Mercury, which will be placed there for the most part of the month. So these are the key placement and positions of the planets throughout the month of November. Now let's discuss the major areas of life, starting with career. In terms of job and profession, an excellent time for you is now starting, because finally the Guru Chandal Dosh is over completely and Jupiter is free from affliction from Rahu, the demon planet, and it rules your career house and also your Lagna, and it is placed in the Dhanastan and aspecting the career house from the second, which means a lot of good growth, progress, and success is indicated in the coming time. If you face a lot of hurdles, obstacles, dilemmas, confusion, slowly everything will be cleared away and your path to success will be guaranteed as long as you're willing to put in the hard work and effort. You're willing to give it your 200% effort. There is going to be nothing or no one that can stop you from achieving your career goals, ambitions, dreams, and desires. Especially if you're residing in a foreign land, you are going to really make excellent progress because your 11th lord Shani is in the 12th house, in the house of permanent foreign settlement. So even for those people looking to change jobs or who are wanting to get a job transfer to a company in a foreign land, can certainly have their dreams come true. So I will definitely recommend, if you don't have a job, keep applying and give lots of interviews, because there is a strong chance you can land a new job with a decent salary and benefits package. Your confidence will be sky high. Your leadership skills will start to shine. Those who had dismissed you earlier, now they will start to respect you, give you the attention, credit, and recognition that you truly deserve. You will be a force to be reckoned with in your career area. So overall, the job front is looking quite strong and dominant. If we talk about the business area, then the time is also looking good for the most part, as long as you make good decisions, because Venus is debilitated in your 7th house in the sign of Virgo, and the lord of the 7th house is in your 9th house, which means that with careful business planning, due diligence, research, and analysis, you can certainly convert your expenses to profits, to increased revenues. Just avoid any sort of distractions when it comes to business relationship and you will be fine. If we talk about health area, then it is looking good for the most part, because although Saturn's aspect is on your 6th house, we also have Jupiter, your Lagnesh, first of all placed very strongly and aspecting your 6th house as well, so giving you good protection. Sun's position will also improve in the last 2 weeks. So just maintain slight caution in the first 2 weeks, and then the health area is looking much better in the last 2 weeks. So it will keep getting better as the month progresses. So your vitality will increase, you will feel more robust, your energy levels will also rise. Just maintain a good diet, watch what you're eating, have good, healthy home cooked food, do regular exercise, and your health will be just fit and fine. If we talk about finance, then the time is now looking quite good, but just make sure to invest in safe, stable long term investments. Avoid risky speculative investments like cryptocurrency, penny stocks, or that could get you in trouble because you are also the influence under the influence of Sadhi for moon sign people. So you have to be a bit cautious when it comes to your investments. But if you utilize good money and financial management skills, then you can certainly grow your bank balance, accumulate good wealth, and increase your savings in the coming time. And those residing abroad will even have a bigger inflow of money come their way. If we talk about primary education for those students studying high school or bachelor's, the time is looking quite good, especially in the last 2 weeks when your fourth lord will transit to the ninth house, creating a Budh Aditya Yoga. So, with Sun and Mercury. So, that will be a quite good time for you to make or to do very well in your academics. And if we talk about higher education, such as master's or PhD program, the first 2 weeks are looking quite tough, and then the last 2 weeks you will get much more support from your ninth lord, but you still need to put in a lot of hard work and effort because Saturn is aspecting your ninth house. If we talk about love and romance area, the time is looking quite good for single people hoping to find someone. Finally, luck might start favoring them and they might come across compatible partners and possibly find someone to get into a relationship with. If you're already in a relationship, the time is looking quite harmonious, peaceful, and no major affliction or problem is indicated in your romantic relationship. If we talk about married life, I will say it is not the ideal time to get married, especially at least in the first week or so. Definitely avoid doing that if you can. Venus position in the seventh house is not the best because it is a Karak of the seventh house, and what we say as bhavnash, destruction of the significations of the seventh house can happen due to Venus in debilitation in the seventh house. So some caution does need to be maintained. If you can push your marriage to a date further, it will be beneficial. If you're already married, for married couples, avoid getting entangled with someone else. Be very faithful, loyal to your spouse so that no major problems arise, because Venus debilitation in the seventh house can lead you astray, can cause some temptations, can cause you to take the wrong decision, such as being unfaithful, and that can have disastrous consequences for your married life. So just maintain some caution. But if you are overall loving, caring, attentive, loyal towards your spouse, then you can have a blissful married life. If we talk about short distance travel, then overall the time is looking okay, mediocre. Just do not speed and drive your vehicle and you will be fine. If we talk about long distance travel, journey, vacation, if you can avoid it in the first 2 weeks, it will be in your favor. And the last 2 weeks will be much more supportive. Although if you can take someone along with you in terms of long distance traveling, journey or vacation, it will be better for you. So I believe I covered all the major areas of life for my Pisces Meen Rashi friends. I thank you for watching and good luck.